Now streaming and recording.
Good afternoon. Welcome. You are tuning into the scoping meeting for Baobab Village. I'm doing a quick audio and video check to make sure our systems are working. We're going to start the scoping meeting in just a few minutes at 2 p.m. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome. You are tuning into the remote public scoping meeting for the Baobab Village proposal. For the record, CEQR, City Environmental Quality Review number for this project is 26DCP070K. My name is Evren Ülker Kacar. I am the Deputy Director for New York City Department of City Planning's Environmental Assessment and Review Division, EARD. Tom Smith, Senior Advisor for Neighborhood Studies and Special Projects, will co-host today's meeting. And in the event of any technical difficulties on my end, Tom will take over this meeting on my behalf. We truly appreciate you making the time to join us today and appreciate your patience if we do run into any technical difficulties. I want to emphasize that we will hear from everyone who wishes to speak today, and this meeting will remain open until we have heard from all speakers. We also welcome written comments and testimony through 5 p.m. Monday, February 2nd, 2026, and provide the written comments the same attention and consideration as those comments provided live at this meeting. Next slide, please. So we will now proceed to the public scoping meeting for Baobab Village proposal. Again, for the record, let me note that the City Environmental Quality Review, or CEQR number for this project is 26DCP070K, and today's date is January 22nd, 2026, and the time is approximately 2:02 p.m. Again, my name is Evran Ülker Kajar. I am the Deputy Director of Environmental Assessment and Review Division at New York City Department of City Planning. I'll be chairing today's scoping meeting. The Department of City Planning is acting on behalf of the City Planning Commission as the lead agency for this proposal's environmental review. As the lead agency, the department will be responsible for overseeing the preparation and completion of this proposal's environmental impact statement, or EIS. Next slide, please. Joining me today are several of my colleagues from the Department of City Planning. Tom Smith is the Senior Advisor for Neighborhood Studies and Special Projects. Stacey Barron is the Environmental Assessment Review Division Project Manager for this proposal. Lynn Sue Robinson is the Project Manager for the Land Use Proposal. From the department's Brooklyn office, we are also joined by Alex Sommer, the Director, and Karenza Wood, the Deputy Director. Joy Kim, Associate Counsel at the department, is also with us today. I also want to mention that during today's remote meeting, we are joined by several DCP staff members who are working in the background to ensure this meeting runs smoothly. Many thanks to them. Next slide, please. Together, we are here to receive your comments on the draft scope of work for the Baobab Village proposal. The draft scope of work identifies the subjects to be analyzed in the upcoming Draft Environmental Impact Statement, or DEIS, and describes the methodologies that will be used in those analyses. The draft scope of materials are posted online at the Department of City Planning's website. Next slide, please. The purpose of this scoping meeting is to allow public participation in the preparation of the DEIS at the earliest stage possible in environmental review. Specifically, scoping allows the public to help shape the DEIS before it is written. Towards that end, the department, as the lead agency, will receive verbal testimony on the draft scope of work from elected officials, government agencies, representatives of the local community board, and the public. We also welcome written comments on the draft scope of work, and written comments can be submitted through Monday, February 2nd, 2026 by 5 p.m. At the end of the written comment period, the department, as the lead agency, will review all comments, those we hear today, as well as all those written comments that we will receive. After carefully reviewing all the comments, the department will decide what changes, if any, need to be made to the draft scope of work and will issue a final scope of work. It is the final scope of work that will serve as the basis for preparing the draft environmental impact statement. Next slide, please. Today marks the beginning of the written comment period on the draft scope of work. No decisions will be made today regarding the draft scope of work, and the purpose of this meeting is to allow the public to provide their comments about the draft scope of work and to allow the department to listen to those comments. It is very important for all voices to be heard today. Next slide, please. I will now focus on the structure of today's meeting, which is going to be divided into 3 parts. The applicant team will make a brief presentation describing the Baobab Village proposal. The applicant team will provide a brief summary of the environmental review's draft scope of work. This should take about 20 minutes. During the second part of the meeting, the department will hear testimony from the elected officials, government agencies, and community board leaders. And during the third and the final part of the meeting, we will be receiving testimony from the members of the general public. Next slide, please. On to a few logistics for today's scoping meeting. If you wish to speak and plan to access this meeting online using a computer or tablet or a smartphone, please remember to register online through New York City Department of City Planning's website at www.nyc.gov/planning. And navigate to the top right corner of the calendar page and follow the registration instructions for the Baobab Village Public Scoping Meeting. A link to join us and provide your testimony will be emailed to you after you completed the registration process on the DCP calendar page. We will add you to our speakers list in the order which you registered. Next slide, please. When it's your turn to speak, your name will be called and you will be promoted to panelist. This will allow you to unmute your microphone and give you the ability to turn your camera if you choose to do so. There will be a short period of time that it will appear that you are no longer in the meeting. Don't be alarmed. You should rejoin the meeting as a panelist shortly. You will be asked to convey your remarks. And to allow us to hear from everyone who wishes to speak today, we ask you that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes. A 3-minute countdown clock will run on the screen if you're participating online. At the 3-minute mark, your time will expire, and at that time, you will be asked to conclude your remarks. Please note that promoting and demoting speakers take a moment, so please be patient. Next slide, please. An additional note of instructions for those joining us by phone today. If you wish to provide testimony via telephone, please select *9 when prompted. Please listen for me to call out the last 3 digits of your phone number. At that point, you will be given the temporary ability to share your testimony. You must press *6 to unmute your telephone, and we will be able to hear you speak live at this meeting. When your testimony is complete or your 3 minutes have expired, whichever comes first, you must press *6 again to mute yourself. We would like to encourage dial-in participants who wish to provide testimony to register via the phone using the dial-in participant hotline. Again, please note that muting and unmuting registered speakers takes a moment, and we appreciate your patience. Next slide, please. On to some time limits. Speakers from the general public have 3 minutes to give their testimony, and there are a few exceptions to this 3-minute time limit. Elected officials, for example, are given the courtesy of jumping the front of the queue and are not limited to 3 minutes. If you are joining us, if you are viewing us on live stream, and you are wishing to testify, please be mindful the potential background noise during your testimony. Make sure that the live stream is muted when you begin your testimony to avoid hearing an echo. Next slide, please. If you wish to submit a written testimony, you can submit your testimony by mailing us at 120 Broadway, 31st floor, New York, New York, 10271. Attention, myself. You can also email us your comments. The project email address for comments to be submitted is 26DCP070K_DL@planning.nyc.gov. This information can also be found on the Department of City Planning's calendar page. Again, we will accept comments through Monday, February 2nd, 2026 by 5 p.m. So if you missed the instructions, please visit the DCP's calendar page and follow the instruction on how to participate and provide testimony. And now with that, we'll move on to the first part of the meeting, where the applicant team will present an overview of the proposed project and the proposal. This presentation will be followed by the environmental consultant, who will summarize the draft scope of work. Thank you. I'll pass it to Dr. Browley. Next slide, please. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Reverend David K. Brawley, and I'm the seventh pastor of the St. Paul Community Baptist Church in the East New York section of Brooklyn. And today, we proudly propose and present what we call Baobab Village. St. Paul, now nearly 100 years old, has a long history of creating community. In 1927, it is believed that 15 or so people from South Carolina came to Brownsville, fleeing domestic terror and in search of a better life. They created what is known today as St. Paul Church. Our forebears imagined and saw far off a church and a community that would afford connection, resources, and opportunity in a haven up north. From a small beginning in Brownsville to building a new church edifice in the 40s during World War II, when others said it was impossible, to regenerating East Brooklyn neighborhoods when East New York was thought of as the end of civilization, St. Paul, with East Brooklyn congregations, continues the work of regenerating communities, with multiple phases of Nehemiah housing complete, numbering over 5,000 affordable homes in East Brooklyn, hundreds of units of senior affordable housing responding to the affordability crisis that has threatened African American communities in New York City. This moment, dubbed the reversed Great Migration, Baobab Village, is another installment of a community-led response to the crisis. Next slide. Why the Baobab tree? The Baobab tree, also known as the tree of life, is considered the hub of the community. It is the hub of the life of the community, providing shelter, a gathering space for community, economic opportunity, medical access for the village. We imagine a place where this legacy will continue. Next slide, please. Presentation overview. We're proposing the project today, discretionary actions and approvals, and the city environmental quality review. Next slide. Let me introduce our partners and team that will shepherd the project to completion. Monadnock Development, along with East Brooklyn congregations, and Nehemiah Development represents the most consequential development team, not only in our community, but in the nation. An alliance and an alignment of 4 decades long and still strong. Our team is one of the most accomplished in the world of development, and we understand what it takes to deliver affordable housing for our community that meets our needs. We introduced East Brooklyn congregations, Monadnock Development, urban architectural initiatives, and also Datner, Nehemiah, Herrick, and Ty Lin. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear now from our architects, the Datner firm.
Next slide, please. So my name is John Wolfling. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here representing Datner Architects and our partners, UAI. So what you see here is the rezoning area, which is an entire block located between Linden Boulevard, Skank Avenue, Stanley, and Hendricks, and then a partial block to the west. Some of the interesting things about this site are the amount of openness around it. One of those features is Linden Boulevard. Linden Boulevard is one of the widest streets in Brooklyn. It is 170 feet wide. It's almost 3 times wide, 3 times as wide as a standard street. To the east of the site, on the other side of Skank Avenue, is the NYCHA Boulevard houses. Those buildings are pulled back from the property line, and do not occupy the portion of the site right along the street line. So there's a lot of openness to the east of the site. Stanley Avenue is also a unique street. It's not as wide as Linden Boulevard, but our assessment of this street is that it is much more of the community active street with much more foot traffic, better opportunities for retail. Hendrick Street, which is the street that separates the two sites, the two blocks, is a much more smaller scale neighborhood street. So that is the context, and you're going to hear how some of that influenced some of our proposal that we'll get into in a little bit. Next slide, please. This is the current zoning of the neighborhood, which is in the immediate area is a combination of R5 and R6 districts. R5 is a very low density district. R6 is a medium density district. The current site is also occurring in some of those areas that are crosshatched. Those crosshatches are commercial overlays that allow for commercial uses to occur within the site. One of the interesting things about the R5 district is that it is, I mentioned it's a low density district. For us to achieve similar density and building size to what is to the east of us at the NYCHA campus, we have to rezone the site in order to achieve that sort of density. So that's an important factor for why we're coming to everyone today. Next slide, please. So within the rezoning area, there are three distinct areas. The dashed blue line, that is going to be the portion of the site that will both house the future home for Reverend Brawley's congregation and also a residential building. Those two buildings will be distinct from each other, but they will be right next to each other and are really part of the same redevelopment on that side of the block. The black dashed line, that is the portion that we are designing that is primarily residential. The ground floor will have a combination of retail and residential amenities. The green area to the north along Linden Boulevard, that's also part of the rezoning area, and it has actions that will facilitate redevelopment of that site. These circled numbers that you see are keyed into several photographs, which I will flip to now. Next slide, please, to show the context of the existing neighborhood. Photograph number 1 on the left-hand side, that's looking north along Skank Avenue. You can actually see one of the buildings that Reverend Brawley referred to in the background, one of the church buildings that was built in the mid-20th century. But a lot of the buildings in the neighborhood are very low scale, especially on this block. The photograph to the right is looking south along Skank Avenue from Linden Boulevard. Next slide, please. These two photographs are looking along Hendricks Street, looking south, and just showing again some of the context on the right, or sorry, left-hand slide, where that white truck is. That will be the new location of the church on the right-hand side of the street. Next slide. So this is just a narrative of the project. We have a couple images coming up on the next slides, but you can see this is a relatively large project. It's a large site, so we can do a great deal of floor area here, a number of total dwelling units of 826, a large amount of community facility space, local retail, and at grade and below grade parking of 185 spaces. Next slide. These are two massing images. The green and yellow that you see on the left-hand side of the left image, the yellow is the proposed church facility, the congregation, the new congregation space. And that is its own separate building to have its own distinct identity on Hendrick Street. The adjacent building in the green, that is the residential building that I mentioned earlier. The blue building across the street between Skank and Hendricks, that is primarily residential building. The yellow that you see along Stanley Avenue, that is ground floor retail. And we've located that retail there because that does seem to be the best location for that local retail that will be that'll help activate that frontage. Every one of these buildings will have this activation of the ground floor level, whether it's the entry point for the new St. Paul's Church, whether it's the residential entrances for the buildings or the retail entrances along Stanley. We have a design that terraces down from the high point closest to Linden Boulevard, and then steps down as it gets around to the site. And then when the buildings come together along Hendricks, that's where the masses are relatively low, and I think are appropriate for that that mid-block expression between the two buildings along Hendricks. Next slide, please. I mentioned earlier that we have the boulevard houses to the east of us. Those buildings are 6 stories to 14 stories. So we have created in our massing a 6-story base that is about 65 feet high, and that 6-story base really has a relationship to what is across the street on the other side of Skank. And we feel like that's an important urban design move. We're also pulling the building back away from the property lines so that we can have a wider sidewalk, which I think also helps with how that massing expression works. So we're really we're creating this contextual street wall and then setting the upper portions of the building back further from that street wall line. Next. You can see many more, or a few more images of that. We're also breaking up the street wall in that 6-story base to give some articulation and human scale. These are not showing windows, but obviously those will be part of our final design. But there is a scale that is important here, not only relating to the neighborhood, but also to human scale and activating those ground floor experiences. Next slide. And this is now, I'm going to hand this off to Teresa.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. My name is Teresa Pretwell. I'm the Director of Environmental Planning team at TY Lynn. We're the environmental planning consultants for this project. I'm going to provide you a description of the requested discretionary actions and approvals needed to facilitate the proposed project, followed by an overview of the draft scope of work, which provides the framework for how we'll develop the draft environmental impact statement. The applicant team is requesting a number of discretionary city actions to facilitate the proposed development, including zoning map amendments and a zoning text amendment to Appendix F of the zoning resolution to establish a mandatory inclusionary housing area that'll be conterminous with the proposed rezoning area. I'm going to discuss the zoning map amendments in detail using the proposed zoning map over the next 3 slides. Can you change to the next slide, please? All right. So for projected development site 1, which is the area shown in blue, a change of the existing R5 district to an R7A district. And then for the proposed project development site 2, which is the pink area, we want a change of the R5 district in the C12 commercial overlay to establish an R8X district along Linden Boulevard that extends 200 feet southward from the street line to the midpoint of the block towards Skank Avenue. To the next slide, please. On project site 2 still, which is the pink area, we also want to eliminate the C12 commercial overlay and establish a C24 commercial overlay along Stanley Avenue that measures 100 feet from the frontage. We're also going to establish an R7A district extending towards the mid-block and measuring 100 feet from Stanley Avenue and 105 feet from Linden Boulevard. And finally, we want to establish an R8A district on the remainder of the projected development site 2. Next slide, please. So for projected development site 3, which is shown in beige, and the non-applicant owned parcels, we want to change the R5 district to establish an R8X district along Linden Boulevard and extending 200 feet southward along Skank Avenue. And we want to establish a C24 commercial overlay along Linden Boulevard and extending 105 feet southward. We want to establish an R7A district to include Lot 27 in addition to projected development site 1. And we want to eliminate the existing C12 commercial overlay on Lot 27 in addition to projected development site 1. Next slide, please. So the environmental review assessment is based on the increment or the difference between the development that can occur as of right or without any discretionary approvals and the development that would occur pursuant to the proposed action. The as of right development scenario is referred to as the no action condition. Now that serves as the baseline to evaluate the proposed project. Development pursuant to the proposed actions is referred to as the with action condition. The increment in gross square footage, or GSF, between those two scenarios is shown in column 4 of this table, and that serves as the basis for the environmental review assessment. Next slide, please. So presented here is an overview of the draft scope, which provides the framework for the preparation of the draft EIS. The draft EIS will be consistent with the guidelines of the City Environmental Quality Review Act, or CEQR or CEQR technical manual, which is the standard guidance document for the environmental assessment and review in New York City. So the CEQR technical areas of note for inclusion in the draft EIS will include land use, zoning, and public policy, socioeconomic conditions, community facilities and services, open space, shadows, historic and cultural resources, urban design and visual resources, hazardous materials, water and sewer infrastructure, transportation, air quality, greenhouse gas emissions and climate change, noise, public health, neighborhood character, construction, and the effects on disadvantaged communities. The draft scope provides a detailed outline of how each of these technical areas will be assessed. And for each of the technical areas, it identifies study areas, types of data to be gathered, how the data will be assessed, and how potential significant adverse impacts will be determined. In addition, the draft EIS will include a mitigation chapter, which will identify practicable mitigation measures to address any significant adverse impacts. Where significant adverse impacts cannot be mitigated, they'll be described as unavoidable adverse impacts. The draft EIS will also discuss alternatives that will reduce or avoid project-related significant adverse impacts. Next slide, please. Just want to talk briefly about the transportation chapter. It's an important consideration. The proposed project would result in an increase in the number of vehicular trips, increased ridership on mass transit facilities, and an increase in pedestrians in the vicinity of the projected development sites. Therefore, changes to traffic, transit, pedestrian, and parking conditions as a result of the proposed project will be analyzed. The transportation analysis will also account for increased demand resulting from known planned area developments and roadway geometry changes. Detailed analysis will be prepared for the transportation elements identified in the draft scope. And that's the end of my slides. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa, and the applicant team for your presentation. We will now move on to part 2 of the meeting. At this time, we will be receiving testimony from the elected officials, community board leaders, and government agencies. So when it is your turn to speak, your name will be called and you will be prompted to panelist, and this will allow you to unmute your microphone and give you the ability to turn on your camera if you choose to do so. There will be a short period where it will appear that you are no longer in the meeting, but don't be alarmed. You should rejoin the meeting as a panelist shortly. So if speakers are experiencing any technical issues that prevent them from sharing their testimony today, we will pause and then move on to the next speaker to allow for troubleshooting to happen in the background, and we will call your name again at a later time. So for any assistant, for anybody who wishes to speak today, you can register at our New York City Department of City Planning website on the calendar page under the upcoming meetings and click on the Baobab Village Scoping Meeting. You are seeing these instructions on the screen. If anyone is having any technical difficulties, you can dial any of these toll-free numbers you're seeing on the screen. One of them is 877-853-5247, and you can enter the meeting ID 817-6638-4530 and press pound to skip and enter the password 341154. All right. If any of the speakers are having any difficulty to register online, please also call our hotline number as you're seeing on the screen, that someone will help you register to speak. All right, I'm looking at our background team. There are no government agencies, representatives, or anyone from the community board or elected officials have registered to speak at this time. So we will move on to the third part of the scoping meeting, where we will hear members of the general public to speak up to 3 minutes. A 3-minute time tracker will start when you start your testimony. All right, we have that on the screen. So when it is your turn to speak, your name will be called and you will be promoted to panelist. Again, this will allow you to unmute your microphone and give you the ability to turn your camera on, and there will be a short period of time where you're no longer in the meeting, but you will appear as a panelist shortly. So please remember that after the 3 minutes have passed, you will be asked to conclude your remarks. Again, if there are any speakers that have any technical issues providing their testimony, we will stop and troubleshoot in the background and call your name again. All right, so our first speaker in this category is Yolanda Moore. Yolanda Moore, we will promote you to be the panelist to give your testimony. Great.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? Welcome. Thanks for making the time to join us to provide your testimony today.
Thank you. I'm going to begin. Good afternoon. I'm EBC leader, retired Sergeant Yolanda Moore. I officially retired from my position with the City of New York a year ago and have been a longtime resident of East New York since 1972. As an EBC leader and a resident of New York Nightshade Boulevard houses, I am honored to represent my vibrant East New York community. St. Paul's Community Baptist Church, under the inspired leadership of Reverend Dr. David Broadley, serves as a cornerstone of our neighborhood, uniting both NYCHA residents and Nehemiah homeowners. For decades, this esteemed church has been a nurturing force for countless children in East New York, providing essential resources and unwavering support to families facing hardship. The impact of St. Paul's on our community's culture is immeasurable. Its steadfast commitment to affordable housing, particularly through the acclaimed Spring Creek Initiative, demonstrates its ability to inspire and uplift our community. By approving St. Paul's Community Baptist Church to continue its mission of building affordable housing in the 42nd District, you are championing a bright future for New York City residents and seniors. This action is vital in nurturing families, enriching our culture fabric, and stimulating economic growth for East New York and for the city of New York. Thank you for listening to my impact statement.
Thank you very much for joining us and for your testimony and making the time to be here with us today. All right, our second speaker is Zandra Brockman. Hopefully I am pronouncing your name correctly. Feel free to correct me, please. Zandra, we will promote you to be the panelist shortly. Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
We are ready for your testimony.
Okay. Good afternoon. I am Elder Zandra Brockman. I am a member of St. Paul Community Baptist Church. I have been a member for 37 years. I am also a New Lots Nehemiah homeowner, and I have been a homeowner for 27 years. I am on the board of directors of the New Lots Nehemiah Homeowner Association. I am also on the East Brooklyn congregations and the Nehemiah executive boards. And I also participate in the Success Garden of East New York. As a member of St. Paul Community Baptist Church and a community leader, I truly trust St. Paul Community Baptist Church in the work that they do. St. Paul Community Baptist Church was involved in the New York City Nehemiah program, which has provided over 5,000 affordable homes for individuals. Based on the high prices of homes in New York, if it wasn't for the Nehemiah project, I would not be a homeowner today. This project is so successful that it has spread to other cities across this nation, such as Philadelphia, Jersey City, Baltimore, Boston, just to name a few. The next phase for Nehemiah in New York City is affordable apartments. As you know, there isn't a lot of land going outward, so the next step is to build upward. Everyone cannot afford a home. However, individuals can afford decent rental properties. Individuals want to stay in the area where they were raised, where they went to school, where they worked at, where they love. St. Paul Community Baptist Church wants to transform East New York this by providing affordable houses. They need to do it now. East New York can't wait. Brooklyn can't wait. And New Yorkers can't wait. We need this done now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us today and sharing your testimony. Our next speaker is Gloria Miller. Gloria, we will promote you to be a panelist shortly. Welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Elder Gloria Miller. I am a member of St. Paul Community Baptist Church, and I serve as a trustee. I just want to share with everyone why Baobab Village matters, not just to East New York, but to our faith and our future. We're living in a time of a real housing crisis. In this community, too many families are spending more than half their income on rent, and that means choosing between keeping a roof over their heads or paying for food, medicine, and basic care. That's not the life God intends for God's people. The ones feeling this most are the long-term residents, the elders, the parents, the families who built this community, raised their children here, and held it together when no one else would. These are the very people now being pushed out, and that is just not justice. We know that the lack of affordable housing is the #1 driver of homelessness in our city. We know that stable housing brings better health, stronger families, and hope for the next generation. For our seniors, it means aging with dignity. For our families, it means stability. And through affordable home ownership, it means generational blessings and generational wealth. For St. Paul, led by our pastor, Reverend Dr. David K. Brawley, Baobab Village is not just a project, it's a ministry in action. It is ministry in action. We know how to build community, we have done it before, and with God's help and your partnership, we will do it again. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for your testimony and for being with us here today. All right, this is the last speaker that is registered to speak today. Are there anyone else who wishes to speak at this time that is in the Zoom room? I do not see anybody that hasn't registered. So are there anybody on the dial-in hotline? Checking my team quickly. All right. So if you do want to speak and provide testimony on this proposal and you have not yet registered to speak, if you're watching us on YouTube and want to register and provide a testimony, please take a moment to register online now. Those instructions can be found on our website. Can my team have that introduction slide up, please? Great. Thank you. So if you are wishing to provide testimony but didn't get a chance to speak, register yet, please go to our Department of City Planning's website at www.nyc.gov/planning and follow the upcoming meetings on the calendar page to click on the Baobab Village Scoping meeting and follow the instructions to register. You can also call into this meeting by using any of these numbers phone numbers that you're seeing on the screen to join us to provide testimony or to register. Someone will help you. So since there are nobody else registered to speak at this time, we're going to take about 5-minute break for those who wishes to speak and want to complete the online registration process at this time. So we're going to take a 5-minute break and come back at about 2:49 and see if anyone else registered in the meantime. Thank you. We're going to be in a recess in 5 minutes. We'll come back. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome back. You are tuning into the remote public scoping meeting for Baobab Village proposal. For the record, the proposal seeker City Environmental Quality Review number is 26DCP070K. My name is EARD. I am the Deputy Director for New York City Department of City Planning's Environmental Assessment and Review Division, or EARD. We are currently on part 3 of our public scoping meeting for this proposal, where members of the public can speak up to 3 minutes. We were in a 5-minute recess as we reached the end of our registered speakers. And during the 5-minute break, we don't have anybody registered to speak, nor do we have anybody called into our hotline or dialed in to provide testimony at this time. Are there anybody that is in the Zoom room who wishes to speak and provide testimony today? All right. If no one else wishes to speak at this time, we will move ahead and close this public scoping meeting. Can we have that next slide, please? All right. As a reminder, if you had a difficulty joining the meeting or provide your testimony today, I remind that we accept written comments as well. Those written comments are accepted through 5 p.m. on February 2nd, 2026, and you can submit your comments via the email for this proposal at 26DCP070K_DL@planning.nyc.gov. You can also mail us your testimony at New York City Department of City Planning, Environmental Assessment and Review Division at 120 Broadway, 31st floor, New York, New York, 10271. Attention, myself, EARD. All right, it is currently 2:52 p.m. and this public scoping meeting is now closed. Thank you.